You are listening to the Power Women in Green podcast. I'm your host, Ellen Hielkema. I get to talk to a power woman in green. These women are doing business in a new way, and it's feminine and from the heart. Behind every one of these women in sustainable business, there's a story worth being told. Join me and learn from her road to success and how to incorporate her knowledge into your own life and career. Welcome to the 20th episode of the Power Women in Green podcast. Today's episode is particularly interesting for women who have founded their own indie beauty brand, because logistics. Today's guest is Rachel Whittaker, who founded Indie Beauty Delivers, and her expertise is in logistics for beauty brands. So this is something that is often overlooked when starting an indie beauty brand and of high importance. You might think you want to start small, but once you get traction, you might actually want to scale up your business. And it's better to come prepared to avoid costly mistakes. So today's episode will teach you a lot about logistics for products and about what it's like to start your own indie beauty brand and transitioning from a career to your own business. Rachel Whittaker is the founder of the Indie Beauty Delivers brand, a community where indie beauty entrepreneurs can hang out, relax, network, learn, and share ideas. Rachel's mission is to empower as many beautypreneurs as possible to create pioneering, disruptive, and iconic beauty brands by providing them with access to the resources and support they need to thrive. Her passion is using entrepreneurial experience and 15 years of insider beauty industry know-how. She uses this to help beautypreneurs create strong businesses built on robust systems that allows them to build and grow brands that stand out and get noticed without it totally taking over their headspace and life. All right, let us begin. Welcome to the show, Rachel. It is so great to have you.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here. It's very exciting. I've been watching and listening to your podcasts and videos for ages. So thanks for inviting me on.
Yay! So I would like to begin by talking about you. So what drives you to do what you do?
Wow. Well, I guess my story is kind of twofold, in that I have a real passion and belief that everybody can run their own business. And it's all about finding that space for you and working your own business around your own lifestyle. So everybody does it slightly different. And I have a real passion that you can do that. And it comes from the fact that I've managed to do it myself. So one of the reasons behind why I do what I do is to really empower all the beauty entrepreneurs out there to really go for it and tell them they can do it. There is a way to do it. You may not think there is, but you can work things through and around your lifestyle and create a business that really suits you. And the other reason I'm really passionate about this kind of thing is that a couple of years ago, unfortunately, I was a little bit poorly and was diagnosed with breast cancer. And it gave me a real opportunity to understand how much you can achieve when you're really put under pressure. And so I know that I'd spent years thinking, I want to be a business owner. I want to run my own business, and never really having the courage to do it. And being poorly gave me that trigger. It made me realize, hey, I could do this. There's an inner strength to all of us. We don't know it's there sometimes until it's tested. And when it is, you realize how much is inside you, and you can totally go for it. Have the courage to do that. So part of the message that I have is that, find that inner strength. You can do this. You can make it work. And I'd spent 15 years working in beauty. So I'd been working really in beauty logistics, managing brands like PZ Cussons and Saint-Tropez, Trilogy, Ren Skincare. And I was quite passionate about that particular industry and realized that some of the new startup brands didn't have access to the level of information they needed about their logistics and their infrastructure. And so I was quite passionate about getting to brands before so they could really set up their systems well, so that they were starting off in a position where they could compete against some of these larger brands. I guess all those three things collided in one and ended up being Indie Beauty Delivers, which is the business that I run now and have been doing for the last 3 years.
3 years. All right. That is so cool. Thank you for sharing that. And just a question about the breast cancer. Did you overcome the breast cancer?
Oh, yes. Yeah. There was no problem at all. It was kind of like a year that was a bit difficult, but that was, 1 year out of quite a lot. It doesn't really matter. So it was 1 year of being a little bit under the weather and a little bit of treatment and stuff, but no problems. And that was 5 years ago now. So I'm sort of into that 5-year thing where we all get a bit celebratory. People almost forget it's happened now. So that's great.
Yeah. So that was 5 years ago. And then you said Indie Beauty Delivers was founded 3 years ago. So there was 1 year in between recovering and starting the business. Was that like planting seeds? Were you researching or?
Yeah, I guess I was. I was still plucking up the courage because I know some people who have sort of, big illnesses, have moments where it just goes bang and they're like, yes, this is what I'm going to do. And it didn't happen quite like that for me. It was much more of a process that I was working through. And there was a recognition that perhaps that I could do more than I was doing. I could be more creative. And it was I was working through the ideas that I had in my own head. Would I stay in the industry that I'd become an expert in, or would I go out and do something completely crazy and different? And it was just working those ideas through. Plus, I'd been with my company I was a senior manager for a massive warehousing company, and I'd been with them for, 15 years. So it wasn't something I was going to walk away from quickly. I wanted to, give a reasonable notice period to them and work through everything as well. And I still do an enormous amount of work with them now. So we still have a really great relationship. And my mentor, the lady who trained me to know everything that I do, is still a director there. So it was a controlled process. It wasn't quite like that, but when it happened, it happened.
Nice. So that's what led you to start the business in skincare logistics. How did you make the decision to actually work in the field that you had already been working in? So to use your expertise rather than go for something crazy and new.
I think it was because I was working with one particular brand at the time, and they were called the Library of Fragrance. You can go and see them in Boots. Anybody who's here in the UK will be able to see them. You'll be familiar with them. And the two ladies that ran that were both self-employed and it was their own company. And I did a lot of talking to them because we were working in a big project at the time with them, and they were really talking about the fact that they'd wished that they'd had access to information about how to build the correct infrastructure a lot earlier. They'd made some quite costly mistakes. And they were like, God, if we only have known you were around when we made those mistakes, it would have been really useful. And then I started talking to quite a lot of the other companies that I was doing warehousing for. And many of them said the same thing. And it also reminded me of the times over those 15 years, particularly when I'd met new startup and independent brands who were looking for a warehouse. I remember sort of sitting in the initial meetings with them and chatting away. And I remembered how often people would say, gosh, we wish we'd have known there were people like you around a while ago, because we wouldn't have done certain things. And there was one particular instance where a wonderful gentleman had launched an amazing company. It was a male grooming company, and it was ahead of its time. It seriously was ahead of its time. And he'd landed this great contract with Waitrose, but hadn't understood his logistics beforehand, and had ended up in a situation where actually every time he made a delivery to this major supermarket, it was costing him money. And within a year, he'd lost his business because of those errors. And I just thought, wow, I really want to work with these independent brands who are absolutely amazing at what they do, producing these amazing products and being so creative, but perhaps their strength isn't in that the logistics planning and infrastructure planning and business planning. And if I could get to them before they make any costly mistakes, imagine how successful they could be with that sort of combined creativity and ideas, but also that planning and organization behind them.
So interesting. And that sounds like you are getting many signs from businesses like, okay, you need to go in this direction.
Definitely. Yeah. It was just sort of around the research and the sort of memories that I have of those 15 years working with all those amazing smaller and startup brands. I just thought, yeah, that's where I want to be. And also these guys are, I mean, you work with beauty entrepreneurs a lot. They are so motivating. Why would you not want to work with a group of people who are really brave, really courageous, stick their heads out above the parapet, do something different? Every day I talk to people who are out there really hustling and doing their thing. And that's a really inspiring place to be. So, who wouldn't want to work in that industry, really, and with those sorts of people?
I completely agree. They're amazing people. They're so loving, and they're so generous and sharing as well.
Yeah.
They share their time and their wisdom with each other. They don't see the competition as competition.
No, that's it. I mean, I've got, I run a year-long mentor group, and there's a number of brands in there, and they have their own private Facebook group. And my goodness, the support that they give each other is incredible. And literally in my own Facebook group, my main Facebook group as well, the support and the talk and the chat, it's just absolutely wonderful. And yeah, it's totally inspiring. And I do wake up every morning with that kind of big smile on my face because I know something else will happen that day, which will just make me feel like we're all part of this amazing community.
Beautiful. So what does a typical day look like for you?
It's normally busy. I suffer the same problem that almost everybody who's listening to this or watching this podcast is that we are solo entrepreneurs. Many of us work from home, and we find it incredibly difficult to stop. So it's all, it can be very long and very intense. But I always remember that it's something that it is controlled by me. So I quite often do get up in the morning, and the first thing that I'm doing is looking through my emails and doing my social media and talking to guys through my groups and my Instagram and wherever else, just checking in. I am a sort of obsessive blogger. So every week there's a blog that goes out to my email group, and most weeks there's a separate blog that goes onto my website. So I'm always researching and writing to do those sorts of things. I love doing these sorts of collaborations. So I'm always busy planning lots of talks and guest appearances at lots of events throughout the year. And also, obviously, I have to earn my money. So I'm doing the workshops that I do, my mentor program, and I'm working on helping brands to find warehouses. So it can be a pretty long day. And like all of us, social media takes up a lot of our time, but it's good fun.
How complicated is it for small businesses to organize their logistics? So is it something that you think most actually, or maybe even all companies struggle with?
I think what tends to happen with the logistics side of things is that it's very much almost the last link in a chain. So when you're thinking of launching a business, or you're developing a business, or you're scaling a business up, your priorities tend to be much more on your product and also on your marketing. And to a certain extent, logistics is often left till quite late. So I think it's not necessarily hard for brands to do. I think it gets left a little bit late. And one of my main messages is that as soon as you think about a business, logistics actually is one of the first things that you think about, because it's the most important part almost of the whole thing. Because without it, you may have amazing products and you may have the most amazing marketing, but if you can't deliver products on time that look beautiful and aren't damaged, then you don't have the business that you're building through your products and your marketing. So it's something that I really work hard with brands to look at from even the conception stages of their business. It does become a lot harder when you start, if one of the big ambitions that you've got is to work with retailers. Then it does become quite tricky, because there are quite difficult demands that retailers make on you. And you have to have certain things within an infrastructure to be able to cope with those demands. And you simply just don't know about that if somebody doesn't tell you. It's not something that you can read about. Well, you can in my blogs, but it's not something that's out there. It's really only learned by experience. So it's that when it really gets to that retail stage, it becomes paramount that you understand logistics before you start negotiating. You need to make sure everything's in those costs that you're going to agree. So it's tricky, because unless you've done it, you don't know what to expect. When you actually start doing it, it's not too difficult. It's just having somebody who can guide you through the process and give you the information that you want.
And how about the costly mistakes you were talking about?
Well, they tend to be, there can be a couple of different ones. So, I've worked with a brand once that had made a mistake, for instance, way back at the beginning in their packaging design. So they'd decided to have the most amazing designed bottles, which were glass, but were also a very strange shape. And as a result of that, it became very difficult for them to get that through a logistics supply chain. Even if that was just a postal delivery or a courier delivery, it escalated all their packaging costs. They got far more damages than they expected. And going into retail, it was incredibly difficult to package that in a way that retailers wanted. But the aesthetic of it was amazing, and it was totally on brand. And it was incredible. So that's a really good example of how really thinking about logistics right from when you start off is so, so important. It's about knowing where you're going as a brand and making sure you're designing everything to fit that bigger picture. Because once you start to have to redo things, it's difficult. Same with, for example, another one is labeling. If you label your products, because you're an online retailer at first, because you're just selling through your online platform, but you do have a dream of going into retail, at some point you'll have to get all your labels done again to be compliant with what the retailers need. So, don't double that cost. Do it from the beginning if that's where you're going. Get everything ready. And also you want to be ready to go. You want to be able to hit that button when you get a chance with a retailer. You don't want to have to say, oh, actually, can you just hold on for a few months while I just get some labels done and then get everything reworked? And the other one was the example that I gave you with the male grooming company who'd negotiated all their costs with this major supermarket, but hadn't factored in or understood how much the logistics element of that operation would cost. And so essentially every delivery he made, he was subsidizing, and there was absolutely no profit. And once you've negotiated, it's difficult to negotiate again for a little while. So it's just really having that thought and being, I always say, be logistics savvy, get into it. People think it's really dull. People go, oh my goodness, it's just one of those words which instantly makes people switch off and glaze over. And it's kind of like one of my missions is, look, this is really sexy stuff, guys. This is what makes the difference between you completely adding wow factor and having customers who are raving about you because your service is so incredible, and retailers queuing up because you're able to meet all their demands, and having a business which is, okay. Logistics is so sexy. It makes that difference. So it's one of my kind of crusades to get it across to people. Work hard on it.
Yeah, but it sounds very powerful and super necessary. And if only people don't think of that. They're like, I want it to look amazing. And they don't think about the stores.
No. And when you think about it, the point at which you hand over your product to your customer, whether that is a customer who's sitting in their house and has ordered through your website, or whether that's, a big retailer like Boots and you deliver it to their warehouse, it's the only time that you actually physically touch your customer. And so that's an incredibly important part because it's the last link in the chain for them. And if it goes wrong, it's the only thing they'll remember. It doesn't matter how wonderful your website was or how lovely the packaging was when it got there. If it's late or damaged or anything like that, that's what they're going to remember. So it's so important to invest the time in making the only point where you have that physical contact a representation of your brand. Although you've outsourced it probably to somebody else, it's still your delivery, it's still your responsibility, and it can make a huge difference to the reputation of your brand.
Yeah. So when businesses come to you, do they come to you in various stages of their business, of the logistics process? So do they come to you at the beginning and they're wise and they know they need help with it? Or do they also come to you like in the later phase? And how do you offer the support? So what does the support look like?
Yeah, well, it comes in. I get businesses of all different sizes actually, which is quite exciting. So quite often, a lot of the work that I'm doing in my Facebook group and in my blogs is all about trying to get to brands at a really, really early stage. So a lot of my work comes from that. And I have 3 different, I call them VIP days, which are one-to-one coaching sessions where normally I visit and come down and see the brand and we spend a whole day together. Sometimes if they're, somewhere far away, then we'll do it through a online portal like we're doing at the moment. And I have VIP days in how to get ready to work with retailers, which is called my Get Retail Ready VIP day. And I have one that helps brands set up and launch and grow their online business as well. And I also have one that helps them to set up their social media. So I have sort of 3 VIP days which brands can access. And so for most of the time there, I'm working with quite new brands who are just at that point where they want to make sure everything's right, or maybe they're just starting to look at retail, or they want to scale up and really launch their business. But I have another product, which is where I match brands with warehouses. So when it comes to the point that you either need a warehouse or perhaps you're already in a warehouse, but you need to find one that can help you with a bigger service, I work with brands to help them with that, which is a completely free service. So I don't charge for that at all. And so I get brands of all different sizes there, from brands who want their first ever warehouse to big brands who are like, we want to move somewhere else because we're not happy with our service or because we need a bigger solution to the one we've got right now. So that's good. I get a good sort of breadth of businesses to work with.
Interesting. So the number of indie skincare brands continues to grow all the time. I feel like they're popping out like all around us. So I assume that means your potential client group also keeps growing. So what is your take on this amount of skincare brands? Do you think it's a good sign or maybe not so good sign?
What I really like about it is that it's probably a little bit bigger than skincare. I'm particularly passionate about the growth in independent businesses. The kind of, I don't want to say it's a backlash against the big brands across the board, whatever industry you're in, but I'm really passionate about the growth of those sorts of independent businesses. So to me, to see independent businesses making a difference is really, really important in whatever sector, because I think as a culture now, we're becoming much more discerning, and we want to make much better and more informed decisions about everything in our lives. From maybe our grocery shopping to our skincare, to everything. So the rise of these independent brands for me is really, really wonderful. And, long live it really, because it's a really important thing that we have much more choice and we are able to work and buy from brands that reflect the sorts of passions and morals and ethics that we all have. So I'm all for it across everything, not just beauty. I'm really quite passionate about it, and I find it really wonderful to see people being able to turn dreams and passions into really great businesses which help other people. So yeah, I'm very happy with the situation.
Me too. Small brands are just amazing. And there's so much passion involved, and you can feel it because it's so close. You're so close to the person who actually created it.
Yeah. And I think we've just reached that point in time where we just want to be able to connect. It's like things like Small Business Saturday and companies like Enterprise Nation, who are doing so much to really help people to grow their businesses. And yeah, we're just at a point where we want to connect. We want to make great decisions. We recognize that we all have our bit to do in the world. And, you know, these brands give us those choices to buy things and get services in a way that, you know, help us to feel like we're doing our bit.
Love that word, connect. That's exactly the word that describes what we were talking about.
Yeah.
So where do you see the future of skincare?
Gosh, well, I think what we're seeing at the moment, and what's exciting me, is that we're moving away from straightforward categories of skincare and health and food, and we're getting these brands which are emerging as lifestyle brands. And I find that really exciting, maybe because I'm in my early 40s, and, you know, you get to that point in life where you're trying to just live a little bit better and be a bit more healthy about everything. And it's a more holistic approach to life. Maybe you have one of those moments as you get older. But what I can see is that real reflection of that in the brands that are growing. And that's exciting. We don't have to just choose skincare or health. We see brands like Neom who are developing that kind of lifestyle brand where the fitness, the health, the well-being and the skincare all kind of merge into one. And they're talking to us not just about their own products, they're talking about what's happening around, and that kind of healthy lifestyle and holistic lifestyle that we want to lead. So I think we'll see more of that going forward, that we'll see more of a holistic approach and a lifestyle approach and a well-being approach to the independent skincare brands.
Very cool. Love it. I'm going to look out for those. So what is a green habit that you have which you wish that everyone in the world would have too?
Right. I'm a gardener. I'm a passionate gardener. I can't go a day without reading a gardening book. I can't go a day without sticking my head in my greenhouse. My dog is even called after Monty Don, who's a famous gardener in the UK. Anybody who's watching that here, he's called Monty Dog though, not Monty Don. So one of my real geeky passions is composting. I'm owning up to it. It's so easy to do. It's so easy to do. And it reduces your own food, your own sort of, you know, bin waste for collection, your refuse collection so much. And this is where the geek in me comes out. It's totally amazing because you put something in this bin in the garden and you like turn it over a few times and it comes out and you get to use it again to make things in your garden grow better. So and you can do it in a really small way. You don't even have to have a massive garden to do it. You can get them sort of, you know, in indoor ones and things. So I think everybody should be doing that.
That's actually something I am looking to do right now, and I'm going to ask you later about some tips for doing it. Is it possible to do it on a balcony? How am I going to do it? So I'm going to ask you.
It's like magic. It's like it's absolutely like magic. It just, you know, you put in rubbish and you get out something which is useful, and to me, you know, with hardly any effort, it blows my mind.
Yes, love it. So where do you see your business, Indie Beauty Delivers, in 5 years?
Oh, yes. Well, I hope what's happening again, and it's part of the kind of world of indie beauty nowadays, is that social media gives us a marketplace to the world. It's as simple as that. You can talk to anybody, anywhere, and you can market your skills and your expertise anywhere. So I'm seeing quite a big growth of brands working with me who are outside of the UK, whether they're just tapping into my logistic knowledge or whether they're looking to launch in the UK. Or whether they're coming to work with me as part of my group mentor program that I run. So I hope to grow my international side of things quite a lot because that's a really interesting part of it. And I'm focusing really on developing the mentoring side of my business as well. So I'm hoping to do more mentoring, more of everything that I'm doing at the moment, really. So more of my VIP days. The group mentor program, which is in its first year this year, will open up again in November to probably double the amount that I've got in this year now. We've got everything sorted on it. So I'm hoping to do a lot more of that and really, work with as many beauty entrepreneurs really across the globe as I possibly can.
Nice. So can you share with us an obstacle you've overcome in your business, which we all have, and how did you do it?
Okay, so I guess one of the biggest challenges that I faced when I started my business was that I'd worked in the logistics, sort of beauty logistics industry for 15 years. And before that, I'd been a salesperson. So I wasn't afraid to sell, didn't have an issue with selling. I don't have any problem with that at all. However, a lot had changed from selling by the time I started my own business. And there was this thing called social media, which, was such a powerful tool. And although I used it in a social capacity then, I'd never really considered it as using it for a business. So I realized its potential, but also realized reasonably quickly that I didn't know what I was doing. So I had to make some investments in that area on training and coaching and mentoring myself, which was fabulous. But what it really, really taught me was that investing in yourself is a really, really important thing to do. You can't actually run your own business and be good at everything. And you can outsource stuff, or you can train yourself up. Train yourself up to do things, or you can invest in somebody who can help you to develop your skills. And that was a pretty powerful moment for me when I started to work with a mentor. She's now a friend. In fact, I'm going out with her tonight. But it was really, really powerful, and it really helped to move my business forward, not just in the fact that I gained new skills and actually became a total social media geek and now travel around the world to conferences and things like that, because I want to be really on top of everything so that I can actually help the brands that I work with in that way. But also it really helped me just to become a more rounded business person and entrepreneur by meeting, through the mentoring that I did and the coaching courses that I went on, by meeting other entrepreneurs who I now have a little group of. And we help each other all the time, and we bounce ideas off each other. So just simply by making that decision that I'm recognizing I had a limit in my skills, investing in that, I didn't only get those new skills, I got a passion for something else, and also a wonderful group, a network of people who are now, I meet them once a month and we work really hard on each other's businesses and we share each other's problems and loads and successes. So yeah, sometimes we have to spend a bit of money and invest and get ourselves to somewhere else. Don't struggle on your own, I guess, is the message that I learned. And I did struggle on my own for quite a while.
That's powerful. I think relationships and connection is so important in business. It's impossible, actually.
Yeah,
if you just want to sit in.
We just can't do it on our own, and we shouldn't. We should. There's so many people out there, and even if it's just free Facebook groups, I mean, God, there's amazing, isn't there? I mean, your group, my group, Formula Botanica, Melinda Koss. There's hundreds of groups where female founders group, where you can go for free and just be able to say, I'm having a problem with this. And a load of people will give you an answer, or I'm not having a good day. And somebody, or being able to say, yes, I got this today and it's amazing. You know, I made my first international sale or whatever it is. So there's so much help out there that nobody who's doing this and growing their beauty business or anything else should feel like they're on their own. There's no reason for that. But there is a lot of us out there working together in these groups to help each other.
Yeah. And I hope especially introverts listening will take that to heart as well, because they often think that they can do it all by themselves, and they tell themselves that they want to do it by themselves. Yeah. But actually,
and we also have that thing where we all want, when we launch our own businesses, we have that thing where we want to prove that we can do it.
Yeah.
And we have very limited resources, and we're constantly having to decide, where do I spend the very, very limited money that I've got? And so you feel like you just got to do it yourself. And sometimes, you know, you've got to reach out. You've got to reach out and find somebody to help you with that.
Yeah. And it's luckily become a lot easier.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So which aspect of running your business brings you the most joy?
I absolutely, well, as you can tell, I don't shut up very often. I absolutely love talking and the personal connection that I have with the brands. Not just that I work with, but the brands that I talk to on a daily basis on my Instagram or in my Facebook group, because, like I said earlier, there's a energy and a passion that comes out of them, which inspires me every day. So it's that personal contact, whether it's just by exchanging something through Instagram, or whether it's doing a full sort of 8-hour one-to-one workshop for a day where we really go deep on things, and we all end up exhausted, but it's an amazing experience because there's a plan and there's a way forward and there's a confidence to take things forward. But that's the bit that I love the most. You know, I don't want to do any accounting or bookkeeping or anything like that. I absolutely love those conversations that I get to have, and I go out of my way, you know, to have, it takes over, but I go out of my way to have conversations and to find out what people are struggling with and things.
Nice. So if someone could take away 3 of your business problems right now, what would they take away?
I hate accounts. Hate it. Hate. Oh gosh, I can't even, every time it gets to the end of the month and I just think, oh, I've got to do all my sort of, you know, paperwork. So I would happily get rid of that. Oh God, well, I don't know what. I struggle with this one because I'm very lucky that I have quite a simple business model. So I would happily get rid of my accounts, but most of the other things that I do, all of the other things I do, I really enjoy it. Well, actually, the good one I'm doing at the moment, I'm revamping my website. And I don't do any of the actual making it look pretty, but I plan it all out and I write all my copy and things. And I have to say, I am struggling with that at the moment. Bit of solo entrepreneur procrastination happening on that one. But I can't outsource that. Nobody can do that but me to get that right. But yeah, I'd happily, if it was possible to wave a magic wand, get rid of that. Yeah. And again, the other one at the moment that I would happily get someone else to do is all my GDPR compliance.
What is that?
We've got a new GDPR is a new law that's coming in across the EU. It's going to affect us all, and it's really. And it just makes me go like that. It's just, it's all about email marketing. But it's a really positive thing. I'm doing lots of work on it. And it is a really positive thing, but it's quite time consuming to do. So I'd happily get rid of that at the moment as well.
Good answers. So can you share one piece of advice that you've maybe received in the past from someone who is important to you, like a mentor or something, that you have taken to heart and you live by in your day-to-day life or business?
Yes, I can. I mean, I think for me, it's my dad. He's not a business person or a mentor, but he always has, but he knows me inside out and back to front, and he knows exactly what I do. And the one thing that he always told me was to listen to what's happening inside. and to have the ability to walk away at times, to give yourself a little bit of focus. And actually, I read a wonderful comment that Melinda Koss had made the other day in her Facebook group, which was along the same lines, where she said something like, the best entrepreneurs recognize that they have to give themselves time away from their business to look at it through other people's eyes, and to recognize that when you're so invested in something and so deeply passionate about something, it can begin to take over a little bit, and you need to get that perspective for your own personal health. But also you need to remember that this is for your customers, and it's not you're doing it because you're passionate about it, but it's all about your customers and delivering stuff to them that they can need. And sometimes you need to be able to take that time out, reward yourself for all your hard work, and just have a good look in, and a look back, and sort of work on your business rather than work in your business. And I think most of us work in our business far more than we do actually on it. So yeah, step back, take some time out to reward yourself, but also to have a look at what's actually happening in your business and whether it's what you want and whether it's what your customers want.
Brilliant. So true. So is there anything else you would like to add for our listeners?
Other than the fact that it is totally amazing at the moment what people are doing. And what I always say to all the brands that I mentor or work with at any point is that there is room for everybody, but you have to find what makes you different. You have to really define why you're different from those other people. Find your little bit of space. And we're all really guilty of watching what other companies are doing, what other brands are doing, what our competitors are doing. And that's a reasonably important part of, learning about the industry. But what's more important is being yourself and creating a brand that's really authentic and around you, and not being afraid to be a brand founder and to stand there and to put your own brand on that, to take your passion and your personality and let it come out in your brand. Don't be afraid of who you are and what you believe in. That's actually probably your best selling point. And that will be the point where people connect with you and don't connect with another brand, because they'll see something in you that they totally understand and relate to and engage with and are passionate about. And that's what will make your brand grow. And that's what will make you different from those others. So to just be proud of who you are and not afraid to be a founder and get out there and make a difference.
Oh, I love it so much. It's so beautiful and it's so true. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Gosh, it's been amazing. Thank you. It's been a lovely way to spend a Friday afternoon.
That's lovely. Thank you again for all the things that you do and for connecting and sharing your wisdom with all these women listening. And I do
it's a pleasure. And if anybody wants to find me, then my Facebook group's called Indie Beauty Rocks. Go over and join that, and then you'll see what I'm doing in there, and you can sign up for blogs and things. But I'm pretty passionate, and I do as much as I can to help as many entrepreneurs as possible. So yeah, come and join me. Come and have a look.
Yeah, great. I'll also link through to your socials and the Facebook groups and stuff in the show notes.
Yeah, that would be cool. That would be absolutely brilliant. I look forward to, if you pop in, say that you saw me on here, and then I'll know where you came from and have a good old chat.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. See you later.
Bye. Check out Rachel's social and website. Her Facebook group is called Indie Beauty Rocks, her free Facebook group, and her Instagram is @indiebeautydelivers. And also check out www.indiebeautydelivers.com. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. It was, for me, very inspirational and loved that girl's energy. Rachel has super high energy and great vibes and knows a lot about logistics. And I think even if you have a not indie beauty brand, you could have learned a thing or two about logistics if you're a product-based business. If you like this podcast interview, then please consider to leave a review on iTunes and subscribe to this podcast. I would be very grateful if you would do that for me, and I hope to see you again next week. Thank you for listening to the Power Women in Green podcast. Learn how to greenify your life by heading over to powerwomeningreen.com. Here you can find the latest green news and the best eco products from my favorite kind business.